Yo, what's good everybody? It's CP the Doc, and the 2021 NBA playoffs are officially set. The regular season's over, play-in tournament's over, and we officially have 8 teams left in the East and the West who are all ready to fight it out. And in about 2 months, we're gonna have ourselves a brand new NBA champion. Since the playoff bracket's officially set, I thought it would be a fun idea to make a video breaking down how I think the playoffs are gonna unfold. So I'll talk a little bit about every team's strengths and weaknesses. I'll break down each matchup and then choose a winner. And honestly, even though this video's title says Bracket Challenge, this is more like a prediction video for the playoffs. Before we get started, I gotta say this: if I don't pick your team to win the championship or win a certain series, I promise you that it's nothing personal. Let's say that if I get a perfect bracket and I predict every single matchup correctly, then I win $1 million. I want that hypothetical money, so my goal for today's video is to be as accurate as possible. And in a couple months, maybe we can look back on this video and say, wow, Doc got a perfect bracket, that's insane. You guys get the picture though, y'all know what's going on, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and start making these predictions. Alright, so starting things off in the Wild Wild West, we have the number 1 seed Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And real quick, big shout out to the Grizzlies. They won 2 close games in the play-in tournament, and they deserve to be in the playoffs. They have a lot of young talent, they're well coached, but honestly, I just can't see them winning this matchup. I think the Jazz are just too good. I got the Jazz winning this series in 5. Like I said earlier, the Grizzlies have so much young talent. Of course, they have Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks can score, Grayson Allen had an awesome season, Kyle Anderson was surprisingly good, and Jonas Valanciunas has been excellent this season. But this Jazz team, I think they're for real. I'm not saying they're gonna win the championship, but we gotta take this team seriously. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're also one of the best shooting teams in the league. Mike Conley's an awesome point guard. Rudy Gobert might win Defensive Player of the Year. Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, Jordan Clarkson, and Joe Ingles off the bench. And of course, Spida Mitchell is probably gonna be back this series. So with all those things considered, this is gonna be a tough matchup for Memphis. I think the Jazz swept Memphis in the regular season, and they might sweep the Grizzlies in this series. But nah, I got the Jazz in 5 over the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have so much young talent, and remember, they weren't healthy for most of the season, so I gotta give the Grizzlies credit for getting here, but I got the Jazz winning in round 1. Also guys, I'm gonna try not to talk too much. I just talked a lot about the Jazz and Grizzlies. I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes, 40 minutes long, so I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible with every matchup, I promise. Up next, we have the LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. Now this series is gonna be awesome. This is a rematch of round 1 from last year's playoffs. The Clippers and Mavericks played an awesome series last year, but remember, for the majority of that series, Kristaps Porzingis didn't play. Luka Doncic went berserk. He hit a huge game winner in game 4 to tie the series 2-2. The Clippers won the series in 6, but the Mavericks made it really interesting. And honestly, the Mavericks could make it interesting this year too. I think the Mavericks have improved from last season. The Clippers are also great, and even though it would be awesome seeing the Mavericks get the upset, I gotta go with the Clippers. I got them winning in 7 games. If Porzingis doesn't get ejected like he did last year, and if he's actually healthy, if Luka's hitting his shots, and role players like Tim Hardaway, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, if those guys are stepping up, the Mavericks can make this a really interesting series, but I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are gonna be too much. Serge Ibaka's finally healthy again for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson's been awesome. Playoff Rondo's gonna be a thing. And yeah, I think the Clippers are gonna be a little bit too much, but the Mavericks are gonna make it interesting. Alright, number 3 Denver versus number 6 Portland. Man, this is also gonna be interesting. We have Denver in number 3, but they don't have Jamal Murray. So for the Nuggets, who's gonna guard Damian Lillard? That's a pretty important question, but at the same time, for the Trailblazers, who's gonna guard Nikola Jokic? Yusuf Nurkic, he's no scrub. I'm not sure if he can guard Jokic though. I know Enes Kanter definitely can't guard Jokic. It's gonna be tough to stop Jokic, but it's also gonna be tough to stop Damian Lillard. CJ McCollum had an awesome season. He's finally healthy again. Carmelo can definitely have a huge game or 2 for the Trailblazers. For the Nuggets though, Michael Porter Jr. has done such a good job stepping up. I think Jokic is the MVP of the league. Even without Jamal Murray, this Nuggets team is still really nice. They're also missing Will Barton, gotta bring that up. But in a 7-game series, I think I got the Nuggets. Actually, I don't know, because the Trailblazers can really light it up on offense. Sometimes on offense, they'll run the same things over and over again, and they'll hope that it works, but man, if the Blazers get hot on offense, I can see them stealing this series. But the Nuggets defense ain't too bad. Jokic isn't too bad either. I got the Nuggets winning this series in 7. I think these two series right here are gonna be super close, and I think this series down here is also gonna be pretty close. For our final first round series in the West, we got the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, and I've seen so many different takes about this matchup. Some guys say the Lakers are gonna sweep. Some guys say the Suns are gonna sweep. No matter what, it's not gonna be a sweep. Fully healthy, the Lakers are the better team, but they gotta find their rhythm. Both teams have some pretty good depth. The Suns have a good mix of young talent and veterans. Of course, they got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. Jay Crowder's a good veteran. Cam Johnson can shoot that ball. Cameron Payne has been surprisingly good this season off the bench, but I just don't think that's enough to beat the Lakers. You got LeBron James, Anthony Davis. If Andre Drummond can give you like 10 points, 12 rebounds every game, that's all the Lakers need. The Lakers are gonna need Dennis Schroeder to step up. They need KCP to hit those threes, and they need guys like Montrezl Harrell to play big off the bench. Caruso could be pretty big. Ben McLemore shooting threes can also be pretty big. I think this series is gonna be pretty close. The Lakers gotta find their rhythm, but I got the Lakers winning this series in 6 games. I don't think it's gonna go 7. I think the Suns are gonna fight, and they're very good winning close games, but I'm betting on LeBron, I'm betting on AD, and that's why I got Phoenix going down to the Lakers in 6 games. Alright, now moving on to the Eastern Conference. I know so many guys would love to see the Wizards go all the way to the finals. Sadly, Philly's really good. I got Philly winning this series pretty easily. I would predict a sweep, but the Wizards have some firepower on offense, and I can see them winning 1 game because Beal's awesome, Westbrook's awesome, but who's gonna guard Joel Embiid? Thomas Bryant, he got injured, so it's gonna be Robin Lopez. Robin Lopez has to be the guy, and I'm not gonna bet on Robin Lopez shutting down Embiid. I also have to bring up Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. You also got Seth Curry lighting it up from downtown, and I haven't even mentioned Dwight Howard, Danny Green, George Hill. This Sixers team has some pretty good depth, and honestly, I could see them going pretty far in the playoffs, so Washington was a good story. They began the season 17-32, but finished 34-38. They beat the Pacers, now they're in the 8th seed, but sadly their season's gonna end right here. Moving on to the next matchup, if you watch my channel, you know this is a big matchup for me because I've been a Knicks fan since 2012. They're the first team I ever watched on TV, and they're playing versus the Hawks, my second favorite team. They're the first team I ever saw in person, so this is a tough one for me, man, but y'all know I'm rolling with the Knicks. And in the regular season, the Knicks dominated this matchup. Now, I will say this. After the Hawks fired Lloyd Pierce, they only played the Knicks once. It was a close game, Trae Young got injured, but the Knicks got the win. And this Knicks team is one of the best in the league defensively. They play together, they hustle, and even though they aren't the best team scoring the basketball, nobody on the Hawks is gonna stop Julius Randle. Derrick Rose has been huge for the Knicks. Nerlens Noel has filled in for Mitchell Robinson, and you also got guys like RJ Barrett, Reggie Bullock. I love this Knicks team, and I got them taking down the Hawks. I think this is gonna be a 6-game series, maybe a 5-game series, but I gotta go 6-game series, man. The Hawks are gonna fight, and they've been awesome ever since Nate McMillan became the head coach. Great season for the Hawks, better season for the Knicks. I got them in round 2. Alright, this next matchup right here might be the most interesting matchup in the Eastern Conference. A rematch from last year's conference semifinals. We got the Bucks versus the Heat. I know I got a lot of Heat fans watching this video, so I hate to say this, but this Heat team just doesn't feel the same as last year's Heat team, and this Bucks team just feels better than last year's Bucks team. Now this is the playoffs, so the Heat could prove me wrong. They're still excellent defensively. Jimmy Butler's awesome, Bam Adebayo's awesome. Tyler Hero was so big in the playoffs last year, he could do the same thing this year. Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic. I can go on and on about the Heat, but I don't know, man. I gotta go with the Bucks this year. Drew Holiday, huge addition. They also added Bobby Portis, who's been huge off the bench. The Heat have a deep team. The Bucks, though, I think are the better team. I think they're gonna get revenge and take down the Heat in 6. I feel like this could be a 7-game series, but I don't know. We're gonna have to see. I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat win, but I gotta roll with the Bucks in this matchup. Alright, our final first round Eastern Conference matchup. We got the Nets and the Celtics, and this is gonna be pretty easy. I got the Nets winning in 4, maybe 5, but the Celtics are pretty short-handed. Of course, Kemba Walker's back healthy, but now the Celtics are missing Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum's gonna have to carry this team on offense, and I just don't know if that's gonna be enough. Evan Fournier's been pretty good for the Celtics. Robert Williams is back healthy. Tristan Thompson's not too bad either. I believe if the Celtics were healthy, they could make this a series, but because of that injury to Jaylen Brown, who's averaging what, like 24, 25 points per game, I think the Celtics are going to go down swinging, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to take down KD, Kyrie, James Harden, Blake Griffin. I just don't think it's going to be enough, so in round 2, I got the Nets, and they'll be facing off versus the Bucks. Now moving back to the Western Conference, we got the Clippers and the Jazz. And earlier, I said that I think the Jazz are for real, and I really do believe that. However, I got the Clippers winning this matchup versus the Jazz. It's gonna be an interesting series, but I got the Clippers winning the series I got the Clippers in 7. Like I said earlier, this Jazz team can shoot the lights out, but I think the Clippers led the league in 3-point percentage in the regular season. You got Kawhi and Paul George who can score one-on-one. You got Serge Ibaka who can space the floor, Rondo who can create offense. And if Serge Ibaka is hitting that 3 consistently, he's gonna pull Rudy Gobert away from the rim, and that's gonna give the Clippers so much space to operate. So even though the Jazz are nice, even though I think they're for real, I got the Clippers making it to their first conference finals ever, taking down the Jazz in a tough 7-game series, maybe 6, but I'm going 7. Now moving back to the Eastern Conference, we got my Knicks versus the Sixers, and honestly, I hate to say this, but I'm rolling with the Sixers. I think they're gonna win the series in like 5 or 6. I got the Sixers in 6. In the regular season, the Knicks played the Sixers really close, but nobody for the Knicks can stop Embiid. Nerlens Noel's a great rim protector, but not the best post defender, if that makes any sense. Ben Simmons also has clamps. It's gonna be tough for this Knicks team to score versus Philly. The Knicks are already kinda inconsistent on offense, but in this series it's gonna be really hard, so I got the Sixers in 6. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 or 5. I love this Knicks team, but I got the Sixers in the conference finals for the first time in a long time. Moving back to the West, we have the 7 seed Lakers versus the number 3 Nuggets, and you guys know I gotta roll with the Lakers. I got them winning the series in 6. Like I said earlier, man, it sucks that the Nuggets are so shorthanded. No Jamal Murray, no Will Barton. They did get Monte Morris back, but this Nuggets team is shorthanded, and I think in the first round versus the Suns, the Lakers are going to find their rhythm, and I think they'll carry that into the second round versus the Nuggets, who are still a pretty good team even without those guys playing. But if these Lakers are in their groove, I just don't see them losing this series. I think they'll win this series versus the Nuggets, just like they did in the bubble, which means in the conference finals, we got the Lakers and the Clippers. We were supposed to see this matchup last year, but better late than never. Kawhi and PG versus LeBron and AD. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Who's gonna be in the Eastern Conference Finals? I would love to say Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, but I just can't take those guys over Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden. I got the Nets winning this series in 6. The Bucks are nice, but man, Mike Budenholzer's gonna have to change things up if they expect to win this series. The Bucks give up so many wide open threes, and even though the Bucks can also shoot the 3, you can't give up open shots versus the Nets, man. This Nets team is way too talented offensively. James Harden's gonna get his own, Kyrie's gonna get his own, KD's gonna get his own. I haven't even mentioned Joe Harris, Landry Shamet, DeAndre Jordan. I haven't even mentioned the other guys yet, but this Nets team just has so much firepower. I can't see them losing to the Bucks. It would be nice seeing Giannis get the upset win, but I think the smart choice is the Nets, so I'm going with the smart choice. Alright, so you guys probably think that my picks so far are super boring, but I think they're the right picks to make. I really do. Moving back to the Western Conference, we got the Lakers and the Clippers in the conference finals. Like I said earlier, we were supposed to see this matchup last year. 1 year later though, no more bubble. LeBron just got back from injury, so did Anthony Davis. The Lakers added Andre Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder. The Lakers have the depth. They have what it takes to win this matchup versus the Clippers. And honestly, I think the Clippers are going to be by far the hardest test for the Lakers, which is why I know this is going to be a 7-game series. The question is, who do I have winning this 7-game series? The answer is, I gotta go with the Lakers, man. I gotta go with the Lakers. Now, I'm gonna say this. If the Lakers played the Clippers earlier in the playoffs, I might have to pick the Clippers, but I think in this first round series versus the Suns, and this series right here versus the Nuggets, this is where the Lakers are gonna find their groove. If you guys watch the Lakers at the end of the regular season, they were trying to find their groove. They were struggling a bit, but they were still winning games. But they weren't really in their groove. Even in the play-in game, they couldn't find a groove. But early in the playoffs, they're gonna find that rhythm, I think. And I think that's that's going to take them all the way back to the NBA Finals. We're going to have to see how Kawhi performs, how Paul George performs. Of course, you got to bring up guys like Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka. Let's not forget Zubac. The Clippers are pretty deep, man, but I gotta roll with the Lakers. 7 seed, going to the championship. Alright, so moving back to the East, I gotta bring up one thing. One thing I really haven't mentioned in this video is home court advantage. And I think it's super important that the Sixers have home court advantage. I believe the same thing versus the Bucks in this matchup right here. I believe the same thing for the Nuggets in this matchup right here. I believe home court advantage in some circumstances can be super important. And in this series, I think it's also gonna be super important, man. The Sixers play so well at home, and they have the first 2 games on their home floor. Are they gonna win both of those games? I don't think so, though. I think the Sixers win game 1 or 2. Then we go to Brooklyn, and if the Sixers can split 1 out of 2 games there, they can go in a game 5 and take a 3-2 series lead on their home floor. And then all they have to do is win 1 out of the next 2 games, and then all they have to do is win 1 of the next 2 games, and they're in the NBA Finals. However, I don't think that's gonna happen. I got the Nets in the NBA Finals. I think this is the smart pick. Once again, I got Brooklyn in 6. This Sixers team, they can score the basketball, they can shoot, they're pretty good defensively, but I just don't think they can score enough to take down the Brooklyn Nets. This Nets team is gonna play fast. I know the game slows down in the playoffs, but the Sixers have to worry about guarding James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. They can't play help defense off Joe Harris. It's gonna be tough guarding Blake Griffin. And I will say this, the Sixers have some pretty good defensive players. They got Ben Simmons, of course, could be Defensive Player of the Year. Matisse Thybulle is a pretty good defender as well. Danny Green, I know you guys might not like him, but he's no scrub on defense. The Sixers have guys that can throw at Kyrie, KD, but even if the Sixers slow them down, can the Sixers score enough points to win these games? I don't know if they can. I'm not gonna bet on it. Alright guys, NBA Finals time. We got the Lakers playing versus the Brooklyn Nets. This is what my playoff bracket looks like so far. I wonder how many of you guys have the same bracket. My Final Four is the Lakers, Clippers, Nets, and Sixers. My NBA Finals is the Lakers and the Nets, and these NBA Finals are going to be pretty insane. Like I said earlier, the Lakers got to find their rhythm early in the playoffs versus teams like the Suns, then the Nuggets, or the Trailblazers. I think no matter who wins this matchup, the Lakers are still going to win, and if they find their rhythm, I can see the Lakers winning the championship. At the same time though, even if the Lakers do find their rhythm, I just don't know if they can take down Brooklyn, man. Brooklyn has so much offensive firepower. It's going to be so tough for the Lakers to stop the Nets on defense. At the same time though, the Lakers had the number 1 ranked defense in the NBA this season. And keep in mind, LeBron and AD missed so many games, such a big portion of the season without their 2 best players, and the Lakers still ended number 1 on defense. If any team can guard the Nets, I gotta say it's the Lakers. But at the same time, man, Kevin Durant, unstoppable. Kyrie's gonna be unstoppable. Same thing for James Harden. I just don't think the Lakers can contain those guys. I got the Nets winning this matchup in 6. Now, if it goes to game 7, I got LeBron winning game 7. No doubt about that. But the Lakers are going to have to start this series off strong. They're not going to have home court advantage. I gotta roll with the Nets. I hate to say it because I know a lot of you guys don't want to see the Nets win, but I simply think the smart prediction, if I'm trying to win this hypothetical $1 million, I gotta roll with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, if I could go back and change any of these matchups, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Heat beat the Bucks, but I'm pretty confident the Bucks are gonna win. And honestly, I could see the Trailblazers beating the Nuggets. Trailblazers-Lakers would be an awesome second round matchup, but I gotta go with the MVP. I gotta go with Jokic. I just can't see anybody stopping him. At the same time, though, who's gonna stop Lillard? Man, I don't know. We're gonna have to see, but what do you guys think of my bracket? Comment down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who do you have winning the finals, and who do you have in the conference finals? And what player are you looking forward to watching the most in the playoffs? For me, I gotta go with Julius Randle, but I think Westbrook's gonna kill it. I think Jimmy Butler has something to prove. I think LeBron has something to prove too. Can Chris Paul carry the Suns past the Lakers? Can the Jazz prove they're for real? Can the Grizzlies make this an interesting series? So many questions, man. I would love to make a longer video. I would love to talk in detail about every single team here, because there are so many factors that could influence all these series, but I don't want this video to be 1 hour long, so we're gonna end things right here, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you made it to the end, shout out to you, because this is gonna be a pretty long video. I should have said this earlier, but you guys drop a like on this video for me if you enjoyed it. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I mainly play 2K. I post 2K content, but I felt like this video would be fun, and if you enjoyed it but you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications, and tune into future videos and live streams since I do like to stream a little bit. I hope you guys are excited for the playoffs to begin. I know I am. I'm gonna be watching pretty much every game today. I know you guys will be as well, so you guys enjoy these playoffs, enjoy your days, and I'll be seeing y'all again real soon. Thank y'all for watching once again. Shout out to anybody who's still watching, but yeah, we're gonna end things right here. You guys take it easy.